Hello and welcome to the Issues of the Day, where we discuss key issues in the news. I am Grace Ayoyeniko. I have with me our in-house analyst, Mr. Rashid Oniyongi. You're welcome.
Okay.
And Mr. Demola, you're also welcome.
Good day, Grace.
All right, now we go over to our headlines. South African demands repatriation cost from Nigeria and Ghana. 18 years on, RMAFC seeks new salary structure for political office holders. South Africa is demanding about $18.5 million from Nigeria and Ghana, Malawi, and Ethiopia to cover the cost of repatriating undocumented nationally. Pretoria says it spent about 292 million rands on the operation, far exceeding its initial 60 million rand budget. Nigeria says it has received no formal payment request, while Ghana has rejected the claim, saying it's already funded the return of its own citizen. The disagreement is raising fresh diplomatic tension over migration and repatriation crisis. Mr. Rashid, I want to ask, why do you think the South African government will be requesting Nigeria to pay for repatriating its own citizens with all that had happened with the xenophobic or xenophobia issue?
Well, maybe I can't tell you why, but one thing I can tell you now is that the government of South Africa is complicit in the xenophobic attacks on fellow Africans that is happening in South Africa. Nothing proves it more than this kind of unreasonable demand for compensation for actually destroying the lives and properties of fellow Africans who are there. Don't let's whitewash what happened. Yes, it may be targeted at illegal aliens, but there are procedures for repatriating illegal aliens. It doesn't involve putting mob on the street to attack fellow Africans, destroy their businesses, and even kill them at some point. And then turn around and say that, well, since you are getting your citizens back, quote unquote illegal immigrants, you got to pay us for it. Okay, things are not done this way in any diplomatic context. And for South Africa to come up with that disingenuous way of trying to extort money from fellow African countries for doing something that it did not in any way inform them. Okay, you have deportation procedures. You round these people up, you put them in deportation camps, and you inform the countries of their origin to come and evacuate them if you cannot do so yourself. And if you do so, yes, there are certain procedures that is supposed to be followed if you are done it yourself. But usually involves the two countries sitting down and agreeing to a particular cost structure. In this instance, it didn't happen. The countries, Nigeria itself is evacuating its own citizens. Ghana is evacuating its own citizens. Malawi and the rest, they are closer to South Africa. So they might not incur as much cost. Some even have to cross the border with nothing. It is not right. And I think South Africa should be properly called out at the African Union context for this kind of, I don't know how to describe it, unbrotherly acts.
All right. Mr. Demola, you have something to say on this?
Yes. There's one of my rapper in America. He once used a lyric that said, "You owe me the right to slap you," and that's what South Africa is doing, like a psychological phrase that it is my right. You owe me the right for me to slap you. So it means that South Africa gave Nigeria, Ghana, Malawi the first attack, knowing fully well we can actually ask for repatriation with how they treated our citizens. So by coming out to say, you owe me money after doing me bad, that is a psychological approach which South Africa is trying to do from my own point of view, because I don't see where the money incurring money in cost, where it is coming from. I can't really place it. You are the one who illegally, because it wasn't done according to the books, illegally targeted other African countries, nationals living in your country, pulling down their businesses, and in some cases killing them. Nigeria lost how many? Over the years, we've lost close to 92 lives. In South Africa, knowing fully well that Nigeria can actually take them to court for this, they quickly said Nigeria is owing them money, and Ghana is owing them money. And, I want to believe that the West African giants, Nigeria and Ghana, I think we have been very, very lenient with South Africa. Had it been we have been hardline, we've gone hard on them based on what they did to us, they wouldn't have been bringing this nonsense. This feeling of brotherly love that we are doing to them is the reason why they are bringing out all these nonsense claims that they spent money in repatriating our citizens, when we do know that it is Nigerian government who sent planes. In fact, one of the news said another 83 Nigerians are coming.
Exactly.
From South Africa today. So I don't know where that cost is coming, that thing is coming from, but other than the fact that they just want to be one step ahead of us in defrauding us.
Okay, I will ask Mr. Do you think this could, cause some disputes, any diplomatic ties with Nigeria and other?
We are too economically
intertwined
With South Africa?
With South Africa. In fact, with most African countries, for us to actually start talking about breaking up diplomatic relations. And yes, let me be honest about it. There are illegal immigrants of Nigerian origin in South Africa. A lot of them, in fact. Nigerians are famous for crossing borders and entering other countries illegally. Looking up all sides. Of course, usually they blame economic hardships in Nigeria for this. And South Africa has been a magnet for illegal immigration across the continent, especially among its neighboring countries. So we are not denying that there aren't illegal immigrants of Nigerian origin in South Africa. We are disputing the fact that the way South Africa went ahead to treat them is inhuman. And it's like adding salt to injury for them to now come back and say, you need to pay us for harassing your citizens, whether they are illegal or not. It's not. After all, Ethiopia, we actually went and evacuated convicted prisoners in Ethiopia without any noise, without any rancor. We knew that they were being maltreated. And this was approached in a diplomatic manner, and it was sorted out, and we took our citizens back. This should be a lesson to Nigerians too. There's no need to leave your country and go to other country and live there as an immigrant with no future, and probably subject yourself to harassment down the line.
Okay.
It's a lesson, yeah. It's a lesson, and it's also good to point out that history is cyclonic. South Africa has done this to fellow African brothers, in quotes, and in future we might have a case whereby they will be at the receiving end of stuff like this. Because I remember very well when we had a back and forth with Ghana. They chased Nigeria in 1953 during the time of Busia, I think.
Yeah.
And then
Nigeria came back to chase them.
To chase them. So it's like that. When you think you have an upper hand and to continue like that forever, it sometimes, most times, doesn't happen that way. And it may not even be in case of whereby South African migrants are in Nigeria, in an exact way. But it could be in a way whereby maybe a Nigerian vote is what is required to, push South Africa, among the top countries of the world, and then Nigeria will just decide based on that, and not
because of the experience.
The history is there. So,
all right, thank you very much. We'll go over to our second story. The Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission says it has completed a review of salaries and allowances for political office holders 18 years after the last legal review. The chairman, Mohammed Bello Shehu, says the new remuneration package will be forwarded to President Bola Tinubu for transmission to the National Assembly. He disclosed this in Lagos, saying the review covers the president, governors, deputy governors, legislators, ministers, and other political office holders. Shehu said the commission is also working on a new revenue allocation formula to reflect additional responsibility being handed by state government. He added that both the remuneration and revenue allocation bills are expected to reach the National Assembly before the end of the year. Mr. Demola, do you think this is the right time to be talking about increment in the salaries of our political office holders?
When is actually the right time? Maybe I should ask you that question.
And because of the high cost of living presently in the Nigerians are facing, and having to hear this, what do you think would be the reaction of Nigerians?
Of course, Nigerians will react emotionally. Yeah, emotions will be there. But in actual fact, you read out now that the last review was 18 years ago.
18 years ago.
So assuming hypothetically that Nigeria did not review minimum wage for 18 years, and we're just doing it now.
But Mr. Demola, you realize that these people, they have so much allowances
that is
accrued to them.
That is the devil.
Allowances.
I agree with you. So we are speaking of allowances now, not salaries. So two different things. Two different things.
Okay, so
if we have a problem with the allowances, we should look for a way to, of course, we have a problem with the allowances. We should look for a way to, tell them to reduce that. But when it's salary is, I don't even think they live on their salary. They do not live on their
that means they live on their allowances.
Of course, and other things.
Don't you think that should suffice? That should be enough for them?
That's what I'm saying. That what is legally allowed for them is what they are reviewing. I don't have a problem with their salaries.
Okay.
Because salaries, how much? 126,000, 140,000. Those are small money for them. The big problem is their access to public funds, unfettered access to public funds, which they use to enrich themselves and their families. That is the one we should look for means to curb. Not men salary. Salary is the reward for their work, which the law allows.
Okay.
The other one that is shady is the one we should look for a way to curb. And so I don't want us to cry over this one. Your eyes should be on the ball.
Okay, as someone will say, Mr. Rashid. Well, okay, because I asked if this is the right time for such increment of salary.
A wrong time to increase salary. And if the president comes today and said, I'm going to increase the minimum wage, which of course you still have to go through the National Assembly.
Yes.
And I'm sure you will hear this cry for if you are increasing legislators or political office holders' salary,
yes,
you must increase everybody else's
Of course,
salary.
the NLC will also come up with their own.
Yes. But there's always been one misconception we have about, especially the payment for legislators. There is the statutory pay, which is for a senator is about 167,000 naira per month, a House of Rep member. And when you calculate all the statutory allowance, don't forget, let's always use that word, statutory. That's what the government is supposed to pay them as a matter of law. You cannot pay them less than this. A senator goes on with about 1.06 million a month, and a House of Rep member goes on with about 960-something thousand a month. That in itself is very, very high. I would love to earn that.
Okay.
But a lot of Nigerians are earning very close to that. In most, especially in the private sector. You might even see people who are earning more than them. The president is earning 1.5 million naira a month. A month, oh. I mean, so you know that our president is not being properly paid. But there are other sources of funds, especially non-statutory sources, like the one that is budgeted by the National Assembly Commission. They have a commission themselves.
Exactly.
And that body can actually mandate additional payment for legislators who work in their sandbox. So just like in the civil service, you probably see a PAMSEC whose total pay is just about 500,000 a month, but when you consider all the allowances, travel allowances, DTA, inconvenience allowance and stuff like that, you see a pay that is just like the take-home pay that is a lot more than what you will expect a permanent secretary to be earning. So we should look at this in a rational manner. If this thing has not been reviewed since 2008, it is important that we take another look at it and say, is this why they are always running around looking for money elsewhere?
Because the salaries are... Mr. Demola, do you think perhaps it should be that? Or what kind of increment are we expecting with this new, this new proposal?
Like you mentioned, he said, some Nigerians are even earning more than them in terms of salary. like I personally, like I said, I don't have a problem with their salary review. Salary is, it's still reasonable, but they are unfettered access to maybe constitutional allowance. All those kind of money are the money we should put our eyes on, because those ones are running into tens of millions, and they get that monthly. I'm not even talking about the allowances they get for running their offices in the chambers, or paying their staff. I'm talking about some money that is meant for developing Nigeria.
For sitting in the National
Assembly
committee,
all those monies those are the monies we should look at, because they are under the radar. These ones some of them will
But
not
don't you think that should have just been enough, instead of us coming back to this review in the last 18 years that it has not been reviewed? But what has been any have they lost out on anything? The fact that it has not been reviewed, because if we are looking at it now, that is quite minimal compared to the allowances. So I think more focus should be on the allowances, not even
so how do we stop that?
the salary,
Yes.
so to say.
See, if we have a law, for example, that says no allowances should be more than 100% of basic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they will set it to 99%, which is still below 100%.
Okay.
And mostly, the only thing I see, especially for the legislators, is I think I've forgotten this allowance that says a constituency allowance, which is 300% of the basic. That is 3 times more than
what the basic is.
The basic is. So from 167,000 that they are paying you are earning about 300 and something thousand as constituency allowance. That's not constituency project, to just representing your constituency alone. They pay you for your special assistance allowance, but they don't put a cap to how many you can have. Okay, I think there's a cap somewhere, but that in itself is something, because most legislators just say, okay, I will just take one and collect money for
the rest,
and this thing has given to them, so that they can pay those people, because those people are not official employees of neither the National Assembly or the federal government. So it goes into their account, and they can use their discretion to do anything.
Okay, I will ask Mr. Ademola this last question. Do you still think this is the right time? Because don't you think this could just raise up some dust, considering the fact that we are getting close to the election? The campaign starts tomorrow, as officially. So don't you think this will raise some dust again concerning these politicians? Nigerians will talk again. There's still going to be a lot of dust raised for things like this to come at this critical time that we are in, considering the cost of living for Nigerians.
The politicians, they are like goldfish. Whatever they do, Nigerians will x-ray. Like I keep insisting, what we know of what they earn, or what we know that the law allows them to earn, is what they want to review. And that's where our powers. What we should be bothered about is the one that we cannot reach or influence them to do, which is the one they do in their chambers there. And that's where the big kill is coming from. That's where the big looting is, and abuse of office is coming from. So that is how do we get, as citizens, because they are representing us, how do we have a right to question what they are doing there and then have them change it? That's what we should be bothered. This one is what the law allows them to earn, and they've not done it in 18 years. I can't, as a lawyer, I will not take up a case against that, because it's what the law says, and they are fooling, and the money is not much. The big kill is the one we can't even reach.
We cannot, the one we don't see, but we hear.
Let's look at what the commission itself is doing. It is simply saying the recommendation will be passed to the president before the end of the year. So you should not expect anything to happen until after the election. And that in itself is leverage. Okay. Because if Tinubu doesn't come back, it's likely the thing will be dead in the water. So it's political.
All right. Thank you so much. This is the much we can take on our discussion today. Thank you, our gentlemen in the house, for coming on the program. Thank you so much. For more details, subscribe to Citizen TV on Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, and TikTok. This is Citizen TV. I am Grace Ayeyenikon. Do have a lovely day.